Hello and welcome. I'm Charlie, and today on AirOut we'll be discussing recent and past cases of doping in sports, along with the 2015 box office roundup. We have political news coverage on the refugee crisis and its effects in and around Kent, and a Gravesend tea room that you have to visit. We begin with doping in sports, which has come to light more recently following the Lance Armstrong confession to using performance-enhancing drugs throughout his entire career. Sam and James have been out to ask students how they feel about the matter.
In recent years, doping in sport has become quite a controversial topic, with many stories being released because of it.
Famous athletes such as Lance Armstrong and Tyson Gay, amongst others, have been under fire from doping in recent years, with both these athletes having been proven to have used performance-enhancing drugs.
We've spoken to a few college students from North Kent College to see what they knew about doping and to give us their opinions on it.
We asked them to explain to us exactly what doping is.
Well, it's where they train at high altitudes, isn't it? Where they get more red blood cells, more oxygen in their blood, take out, put it back in at a lower altitude to give them benefit.
It's like training at high altitude, and they take their blood out, and then they put it back in when they're just about to do an event. So it makes their blood cells like quicker and faster, and more.
We also asked their opinions on doping.
I don't think it should be allowed, but a lot of people do it, so you can't really stop that.
I don't think it's fair. They get an unfair advantage on everyone else who works hard and takes away all their hard work.
Lastly, we wanted to know if they thought that with all the doping scandals, could it potentially put people off getting involved in sports?
I don't think it would, because I know it's quite rare. I don't think many people would do it at like low levels as well, where you'd start if you wanted to get involved in sport.
Still loads, like millions of people getting involved in sport, so I don't think it has a massive effect.
From the answers we received, we were surprised at the extent of knowledge they hold regarding doping, which tells us that from youth, students are taught the negatives surrounding performance-enhancing drugs and evidently warned against it from a health point of view, as well as how it could affect their careers.
Hopefully doping won't put people off sports like these students have said. I've got one of them here with me now. Sam, hello Sam. Thank you very much for coming. Now, firstly, what would you say your personal opinion on doping in sports is?
My personal opinion, I think it's totally unacceptable. Doping is not only causing problems for athletes' health, it's also damaging the reputation of sports as a whole. And obviously, people who are using these enhancements are overshadowing and the real talent in the competition because they're getting the unfair advantage. And obviously, I think that is what's going to cause major problems in sports because people aren't going to want to take part.
Exactly. So, would you say that the sporting authorities, which are regulating these sports, would you say that their punishments for people who are caught doping, would you say that it's too lenient? Would you say it's too too easy or hard? Or
I think in terms of punishment towards the athletes that are caught doping, I do think it's fair. Like you said, the Lance Armstrong case a few years back, he was found out to be doping and he was banned from cycling.
Yep.
His doping aided his 7 Tour de France wins, and his contract with his sponsor Nike was terminated. And I think having a ban from the sport that you're supposed to love, I think that's the ultimate punishment, really. I think it's like playing any sport though, or any game. If you're playing with someone that's cheating, you're not going to want to play with them. Do you know what I mean? And in athletics or any sport, if someone's doping, they're getting an unfair advantage. They're going to be performing better than you are.
Well, it's an inside deterrent, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And it's going to be the reputation is just going to be tarnished.
So, obviously, I've mentioned the Lance Armstrong case. Has there been any cases in recent news which people may or may not have heard of regarding doping in sports?
Yeah, there's been quite a few actually. I mean, obviously, like you say, Lance Armstrong's the big one, but we've had like Hulk Hogan, the famous wrestler. He was caught doping, and he was banned from wrestling. You've had Tyson Gay, the famous male sprinter, featured in several Olympics and athletic competitions. And also more recently in the last week, the last few days actually, you've had Maria Sharapova, who's a 5-time Grand Slam champion in tennis. She's featured in Wimbledon, US Open, everything massive, and she's been found out to be doping. And I hope, and I'm sure many other people hope, that aspiring sportsmen and women don't look up to this as a good way to follow. And I hope they don't start doping.
Anyone who aims to have the career in itself will just ruin it by doping anyway.
Exactly,
so.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, thank you very much for your insight. Well, moving away from confessions to opinions, Matt and I have been doing a 2015 box office roundup, along with including the films we're looking forward to most in 2016.
Hi, I'm Charlie.
And I'm Matt. Today we're going to be talking about the biggest successes and flops of 2015 at the box office.
We'll also be talking about the films we're looking forward to most in 2016.
First off, let's start talking about what we thought was the best film of 2015.
Well, my chosen best film of 2015 has got to be Star Wars The Force Awakens, as if I could choose anything else. Episode 7 was released in December and has since grossed over $2 billion. Directed by J.J. Abrams and starring rising stars Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, the film continues the Skywalker legacy in the Star Wars universe 30 years after the events of Episode 6, as the galaxy faces a new threat known as the First Order, led by Andy Serkis' Supreme Leader Snoke. The latest instalment to the franchise touches lots of emotions, but above all is as exciting as it is nostalgic. It brings back old faces as well as introducing new ones, and sets the rest of the new trilogy up to be as successful as the first.
My chosen success of 2015 would be Mad Max Fury Road. George Miller returns to the wasteland, with Mad Max Fury Road being the latest instalment 30 years after the most recent in the series with Beyond Thunderdome. Fury Road stars Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron and Nicholas Hoult and claims over $374 million at the box office. Miller is set to return to the wasteland once again with the next instalment, with the working title only being Mad Max The Wasteland. Although this film has not yet been confirmed to any kind of release date, nor has a studio confirmed Miller as a director, he is returning to pen the script in Mad Max The Wasteland.
So we spoke to an additional 20 people, and we asked them what their favourite film of the year was. And a lot of them mentioned Jurassic World. They said this because of the nostalgia effect that it gave. But anyway, we've got to move on now. So Charlie, what are you most looking forward to in 2016?
My most anticipated film of 2016 will be Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, which will be the first ever live action event featuring both these characters as they battle it out on screen. Starring Ben Affleck as Batman, Henry Cavill as Superman, along with supporting characters of Amy Adams playing Lois Lane, Jeremy Irons as Alfred Pennyworth, and the bigger bad being Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Dawn of Justice follows 2013's Man of Steel and paves the way for the Justice League Part 1 coming in 2017. And with the success of Man of Steel, grossing over $661 million at the box office, with Zack Snyder at the helm, the DC universe is looking bright for the future.
The film I'm most looking forward to in 2016 so far is the new Captain America installment, Civil War. After another incident involving the Avengers, political pressure rises to have the team led by a governing body. The new system splits the Avengers, resulting in two groups, one led by Steve Rogers and his desire for the Avengers to remain free to defend humanity without the government, and the other following Tony Stark's surprising decision to support government oversight. Despite this storyline seeming rather political, the film is guaranteed to be as action-packed as the last, and what everyone is most looking forward to has got to be the battle between Captain America and Iron Man. The film is set to be released in the UK on the 29th of April.
That's all we've got time for today. Thank you for tuning in. I've been Charlie.
I've been Matt.
Be sure to come back next time. A lot of big successful movies find a way to merge reality and special effects, but not a lot of audiences realise the work which goes into creating these effects. Here at the college we have found a student, Robert Hill, who is here today to talk about us from the animation side of things. Hi Robert, thank you ever so much for coming on. Now, could you talk us through, the initial stages of creating a 3D effect?
There's two main ways to go about doing it. First, there's the more traditional way to go about doing it, where you'll get a bunch of clay and everything, you'll mould your characters, you mould your objects and everything, and you'll scan it into the computer. Or you'll get that object and you'll take a load of screenshots and pictures and everything of it. While this works and everything, it takes a long time to do it. It's very time consuming and everything. Wallace and Gromit does that sort of thing.
Okay.
But what we're looking to do more in the modern age is do everything digitally. So we would get 2D planes, everything, 2D textures, we'd model them together, put them together to create 3D objects that way, all digitally. We'd render them together and that would produce whatever we desire.
Okay, so this process in and of itself, how long would you say roughly it would take?
It depends on the sort of object that we've been given to create.
Okay.
Either it can be just a couple objects sort of things, screwdrivers, chainsaws, hammers. That can take from a couple of days to a couple of weeks long. Or if you're going to be doing a whole like CG film or a game environment, that could take anywhere from a couple of months to a couple of years.
Well, these designs themselves, obviously the ones, as you said, taking years and that sort of thing. Would you say that, are they conceived by you, or are you sort of, given this, by a brief, for example?
That just depends on the client that we're working with. Some clients can be very restrictive and everything, very specific what they're giving us. They'll give us, it has to be this color, this size, this shape, and it has to look like this and do this.
Okay.
And we'll work to that and everything. However, some other clients, they would give us a lot more of a wider range to work with. So they would say it has to have this sort of atmosphere, this sort of look, this sort of feel, and they would just let us go wild. They would tell us if they like what we do or not.
So quite a lot of freedom then.
Yeah, a lot of freedom.
So these animations, would you, anyone who's, sort of looking to create animations like what you mentioned, what would you say, is the best, course of advice that you could offer them for those who are looking to do a course such as the one you're doing now?
Well, the course that we're doing now is actually quite good for people that want to get into animation, the animation industry. There are a couple of different courses you can go for. You can go for like fine arts if you want to be more on the artsy side sort of thing, just really perfecting your skills with a pen or on a computer.
Okay.
Graphic design's everything you learn, all the fundamentals, everything like that, the shapes, drawing, everything like that. In this course we learn basically all of that, plus we actually do get some hands-on approach of actually animating what we want. So we can do concept arts, everything, that's the 2D design, everything. We've got the stop motion animation, which is getting the models, everything, taking a load of pictures, putting it together, which is very time consuming. Or we've got the 3D models and everything, which creating things like Kung Fu Panda or Over the Hedge, things like that, where it's all done by the computer. Artists just create the shapes, everything, add the textures, and then let the computer do the rest of the work.
So obviously you mentioned other art courses, So are these courses, are they sort of essential in the animation process, or are they just sort of added extras?
No,
which can
not
help you
really.
further?
It depends on the person, really. So let's say the person really wants to get into animation, but the best they can do is like stickmen or something like that.
Okay.
They're going to want to maybe either study in their own time to get their drawings up to scratch, or go and take an art course. And then they would come to an animation course and they would learn how to make those 2D images or 3D models, and they would learn to animate them.
Okay, so obviously for anyone who's looking to do it themselves, have you got any words of advice and any pointers you can offer people who are watching?
Really, just freedom. Just make sure it stands out from the crowd. Everything, as long as your work is good and you don't have random like glitches or anything, or nothing looks really out of place or really odd. As long as it's artistic and it grabs people's attention, you should be able to find a job in wherever you're looking.
Confidence is key then.
Definitely.
Right. Well, Robert, thank you very much for coming on.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your insight as well. Well, if you're not spending your time watching CGI Raptors or mad car chases in the desert, we have sent out our field reporter Zana Alani to be catching up with the latest news in politics concerning the refugee crisis in particular. Zana has more.
Over the past several months, we have had a fast-growing number of the refugees arriving here in the UK. It proposed the question, do we have the room to help and home the refugees?
Since 2011, we have had over 4,000 Syrian asylum seekers arrived unsettled here, with a staggering 20,000 to be expected by 2020. It could make the housing crisis worse for the British citizens. We asked the public on their thoughts about helping the refugees. Here's what they said.
I think the responsibility should be spread around. I don't think it's down to one country to help them. But then it all depends on, if someone's looking to come to another country and be a part of it, and contribute, then that's fine.
Once we accept that they're in this country, you've got to help them.
And how we do that?
Well, you help them financially, and you help them find accommodation, and hopefully help them to get a job.
And what's the government role here?
Well, the government have got to take the lead.
After we asked the public about the refugee crisis here in UK, we understand that the people in general would like to help the refugees. But there is another opinion about that we have to check each people that across our country. Zana Alani, Dartford.
Thank you, Zana. Now, do you start and end the day with a cup of tea? Then your cup is contributing to the 165 million drink in the UK, and this is according to the UK Tea and Infusions Association. Afternoon tea has been around since 1840, and if you'd like to get in on the experience, head down to Marie's Tea Room in Gravesend.
I've got loads of fond memories of my nan from when I was younger, to whether it was in her kitchen, whether it was in the garden, even down to the picture of birds that she had in her dining room, which is why we have a bird as part of our logo. every part of my memories have literally formed to the tea room. I've always enjoyed baking and the social aspect of meeting new people, so it kind of let me put both things together. So I get to come up with some weird creations as well as meet new people, which is great. The response so far has been fantastic. We've grown from strength to strength. We've been here now 2 years, and we now have our own loose leaf tea brand. We do outside catering. There's loads. Everyone seems to love the idea of the tea room, which is great. I love being creative, so I like doing all of the celebration cakes that we do, whether it's for a birthday, baby shower, wedding. I love turning people's ideas into a reality, and I love sitting there and trying to create things from nothing. So that's my favourite part. Is probably the cakes. Some of the other staff at the moment are learning to bake scones and cakes and things, so I'm working with them so that they can start baking for everyone as well. My personal favourite tea is our green tea with pomegranate. It's our very own recipe from the range of loose leaf tea that we've just launched. Literally from the beginning, myself, Greg, family members have been here, whether it was working through the night, every day, laying the flooring, painting, getting ready. We've literally built it from the ground up, from scratch, and we've had such an amazing journey doing it. We've all enjoyed it, and we're all so proud of what it's become.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. I've been Charlie. A massive thank you to my guests, Robert and Sam. I've been Charlie once again, and this has been Air Out.